Welcome back to another episode of pickHERupper. And on this episode, I'm super excited. We have a special guest, Zyah Belle.
Hey, girl.
Yeah. So, Zyah and I have known each other since we were kids. We grew up going to the same church. Our parents, I'm not going to put their business out there. They're friends. And
Right, like, they've known each other forever.
Right, exactly. We've literally just known each other forever.
Yeah.
But tell us a little about yourself and what you do and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm a singer-songwriter, originally from Vallejo, California, where I met you, and grew up partially in Sacramento. I've been in Los Angeles for like 3 years now, pursuing music. It's been pretty great. What else can I say? I have 3 golden retrievers right now for no reason. Also, what else? That's it. I'm black and beautiful. I don't know what else. There we go.
I mean, that's a real good.
There we go. Let's wrap that up right in one. There we go.
Okay, package that and sell it. All right.
I'm dead.
So today's topic is going to be about loving your body image. So that's something that I have struggled with my entire life. I still struggle with to this day. And I think that a lot of, not just women, but a lot of people go through in general. And I think that with the increase of social media in recent years, it's gotten worse than it probably ever has been before. And studies show that teenagers with low self-esteem are at a higher risk to develop depression in young adulthood. And I've had both. Yay!
Right.
So I want to transition into our first segment, which is story time. I'm going to read a story. It is by Charlotte Lieberman, and you can find this on Talkspace, which is a really great online platform for modern therapy for today. Sponsor me, y'all. So this is called What Body Dysmorphia Actually Feels Like. So I cut into the middle where she's saying, I knew Britney Spears' abs in the I'm a Slave for You video were supposed to be inspirational and wondered if my thighs were bigger than most people's after watching Paris Hilton wear fitted overalls in The Simple Life. Still, I tried my best not to care about thinness. I saw my resistance as a pledge to something bigger than myself. Something political. Of course, I didn't have vocabulary for that at the time. So she's describing growing up. She says she's been 5'9" since she was 11. And I'm like, girl, wow. Right. That's crazy
that
to be
tall
so tall. Yeah, it's such a young age.
Yeah.
So her weight wasn't something that she was really concerned about. But she goes into how she was diagnosed with OCD and anxiety at age 9. Wow. And, she had other compulsive habits, but calorie counting became a compulsive habit for her when she was 14. So I'm going to skip to that part of the story. That year, my parents were having serious marital problems, and our family temporarily fell apart. I felt my world spin out of control and wasn't able to eat much for weeks, all because of anxiety. Which happens if you, have anxiety, you just lose your appetite. It's a thing. So pounds fell off of my body and I found comfort in the weight loss. There is something soothing about seeing the effects of starvation. As I progressively lost more weight, it felt like I was regaining ownership over my experience. It was also a convenient coping mechanism. Rather than feeling sad, scared, or angry, I spent each day feeling hungry. Being able to endure that hunger made me feel heroic. Unfortunately, I was the hero, villain, and victim all at once.
Wow.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And for me, in recent years, when I was at my thinnest was when I was in college, but it's because I have a very high functioning anxiety. Anxiety helps me stay on top of my stuff. And so when I was in college, I had a full-time job, I had a part-time internship, and I was a full-time student. So I would sleep for 4 hours, come home, take naps, do all these things. I was doing so much, but I felt great because I was like, on
busy.
Top of it. Right, busy. And so my thinness is kind of attributed to that, but that's the body standard that I put in my mind, like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to look like. This is the real me. So when I grew out of my anxiety and started like gaining weight and stuff, I was like, no, this doesn't feel like me. This isn't the body that I want.
Yeah.
But, you know, craziness.
Wow, I can relate.
Right. It's very, very relatable. So she goes on to speak about how she was in therapy, which, by the way, is a blessing that most of us in the Black community aren't even able to access, and a lot of people are able to have from a really young age when they're going through things. And we go through things without being diagnosed. And why are you so moody? She's depressed. Like, it's not, she's not being a moody teenager. There's real things going on. But our community, A, doesn't believe in therapy, and B, can't afford it. So
well, the thing I feel that sucks like about mental health within the Black community is honestly the lack of education, because there are different programs and places put in these communities that actually offer things like free therapy and certain free mental health services. But I feel like the lack of education and just putting that information out there, and also just accepting that the Black community has a problem with mental health is one of the things that attributes to that. Because I definitely for a long time thought, oh, I wouldn't be able to afford therapy. And there are actually doctors out there that will give you therapy sessions and have your insurance cover it. But it's very far few and in between. And also you just have to go and research, which most people aren't going to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of that. I went on to therapy for Black girls. I looked, I asked a bunch of people. They all said it was $200 per session and they didn't take insurance. And I was like, talk space, it is.
Yep. Yeah.
But, you know, something is better than nothing. But
That is true.
Yeah, I don't take the time to really research things unless it's like something that I'm passionate about.
Right.
And unfortunately, my own self-care is not something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, that's literally something you have to program yourself to be passionate about yourself and your own care and state of mind. And that's crazy that we have to do that. But
isn't it?
A lot of times we are totally dismissive of how we're treating ourselves.
We feel selfish taking care of ourselves.
Right. That's some bullshit.
Who's gonna take care of you? Who's gonna take care of you?
That's some bullshit.
Like who is supposed to take care of you if you're not taking care of yourself?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So she goes on to describe how she like went to go see if she had a metabolic dysfunction, which is like thyroidism and all of these kinds of things. 'Cause she was like, there has to be a reason why I'm gaining so much weight, which
oh Lord,
like literally, like that's what I think too. Like when you're going through it and you lose weight and you're cool, and then you get happy again and you gain the weight. Like, what's wrong?
She thought she needed to be diagnosed.
And I'm like,
that's how deep her body dysmorphia was.
Yeah. So you can continue to read that story if you're interested. It's on Talkspace and available. But I just thought that this was just like right on point.
Yeah.
And into what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure.
Let's get into our Keep It Real session. Okay. And the first thing that we're talking about there is body dysmorphia and how common it actually is in women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely is. I feel like it's not something that women actually pay attention to. I started to notice it. I didn't notice it within myself until I started working with women in the styling and fashion field, which is something I started to do when I moved here to LA. And I would dress women for their body types, is, you know, how you would say it. And try to make them feel beautiful in the things that they wear. And that's when it became really apparent to me, because I would have women come that would be like a size 6 or something. And they would try on a dress and they'd be like, oh my God, I just look so fat. I don't want this. Or one lady was like, my ankles are just so fat. I can't wear skinny jeans. And I'm like,
what?
Sis, I never even looked at your ankles. Like, and I also just kind of combine that with things that I would hear men say about a lot of things that women care so much about that men don't even pay attention to, that we'll obsess over. And once I started realizing that, I'm like, you do the same damn thing. Like, for a good amount of my life, I've done that, but I didn't recognize it until I had to be maybe so closely around women that were so critical of themselves that I started realizing, oh, I do that same thing. Yeah.
And the key thing for me that stuck out with the definition was how it can be a real flaw or a flaw that we've manifested in our mind, but we obsess over it.
Yep.
And for me, it's always been the shape of my body, because in high school, I was made fun of for having like a square shape. And I would literally be told by men, you're so pretty, I just wish you had body. And I'm like, Yes.
Dang.
Yes. And it's
I'm gonna work on that.
Right, I'm not, because you're, and then, but also I was made fun of so heavily in high school, and those same people when I was in college and stressed out and like, well, not stressed out, but I just had that high functioning anxiety and got sweaty and stuff, would slide into my DMs, and I'm like, absolutely not. You're the reason why I hate myself. You're not getting a chance at any of this. Like, what?
Exactly.
Like, it's just so crazy, but you know, men just feel like they have a pass to critique women any way that they see fit. And with women, we don't really, I don't think we do the same thing to men as much because we're not so attracted to their bodies. Or
I think we do.
You think we do?
I think we do. We're in much denial about it, but I know the first thing that you ask if you're on like a dating app as a woman, you're either looking in his bio or you're going to ask him or go on his Instagram to see how tall he is.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. But I'm tall. I mean,
See.
And what I don't understand is when you're like 5 something, you're like, I need someone over 6 feet. I'm 5'9". I do need some. Like, I mean, I've dated
or
short
not,
men.
Kevin Hart.
I mean, oh my gosh, Kevin Hart kicks me.
Sometimes love prevails. It doesn't matter. I mean, but we do it. We do it too to men physically. I think we really do it to men more so financially and like as far as their accomplishments and achievements. We kind of like criticize them on that versus women, you know, normally it's our bodies because our worth normally is dependent upon how beautiful we are and, you know, what we can bring to the table as far as poise and elegance and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think we do it, but I think within ourselves because like, you know, the beauty industry pretty much sells insecurity. It's just like, it's a habit of what we do. And what I wanted to say about the whole body type thing, which is crazy, I learned a lot about that in fashion. And the biggest thing about body type is everybody's trying to go for one body type normally, which is like the hourglass figure. So we normally are.
Because in the 90s, it was.
In the 90s, it was just like skinny or.
Skinny. And then girls would like get like boob jobs at graduation. Like that was also a thing. But nobody cared about having curves. Any of that.
And it definitely changes over time in history, right? So it's like if you're going to subject yourself to that type of definition of what physical beauty is, then you'll just forever be losing. Like I would say what I've learned as far as like clothing is just wear what makes you feel good and make sure it fits correctly, but don't worry about trying to, you know, uphold some sort of shape or body image because you obviously see it changes. What if you were still in this mindset of trying to be skinny and then, oh, now everybody wants a small waist and a big ass, okay? Now I got to do that. Like you're just going to forever be attacking your own beauty. Yeah.
Oof, that's crazy.
It's deep.
It is. But I mean, another thing that plays really heavy into this is, as I had mentioned it before, the effects of social media, especially Instagram. Because first and foremost, when we were growing up, MySpace was on the computer. You had to go home.
You had to log
didn't have a phone in your pocket where you can constantly compare yourself to unrealistic photoshopped images of other women. I cannot imagine how I would, I mean, I already know how bad I felt being teased
just
on my body
in high
in high school. But I couldn't imagine like seeing people who are rich, like Kylie and all these people who don't have
all day
authentic bodies and who are able to just like fix their flaws and all of that kind of stuff. Like she got lip fillers when she was 17 because she was over it. You know what I'm saying? And that's also attributed, that's like a body dysmorphia, you know? All these people who have all of these perfect bodies and that's all body dysmorphia. It is trying to, you know, be this perfect image and all of these flaws and all of these people making these subtle changes to their face, it's a curse. You have to keep doing it, you know? And you get things in your face frozen, you get fillers here, and then you try to cry and you look like that. And it's like...
Listen, I'm so happy for melanin because I don't have none of those problems, but...
And I mean, and I'm not shaming anyone who has plastic surgery because I, like, do whatever you need to do to feel comfortable.
Yeah, most definitely.
But I'm just saying, like doing those things at a young age, your body hasn't even developed yet. But if we had money and access to do that, imagine like just fixing all of your insecurities.
Yeah, honestly, that kind of creates an issue where it's more so about us. It turns, in my opinion, into a sense of control. Like you just want to control everything about yourself and your environment. But as far as like Instagram, to like touch on the MySpace thing, I do remember like, I don't remember really having a celebrity worship type of feel. And that's like a day and age that we're in right now where it's a lot of celebrity worship and people are comparing themselves to people that have thousands of dollars to get these surgeries.
People want their lives.
Exactly. And like on MySpace, I don't remember that. On MySpace, like I remember being jealous of somebody who had a fire layout.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, I don't like
dang,
people was paying people for layouts. Can you imagine the layout hustle? I was not in on that.
Right.
I should have been in on the layout. I didn't know Photoshop.
Yeah, no.
But
my best friend, she knew how to do like Dreamweaver, and she had our pages lit.
I didn't know none of that. Also, we were coding back then and had no idea.
Coding.
Damn.
We were coding.
Missed out on a blessing.
The triangle. With the
exactly.
putting
it. We were out here. We were really. We were getting it together. But I definitely don't remember comparing myself too much to like celebrities and things like that. But I do feel like because it's in everybody's face all day and like social media has so much to do with everything.
Yeah.
Whew, child. I couldn't imagine being that way in high school. I think MySpace was enough and too much too. Like back then, being on Instagram now as a teenager with that self-esteem that I had back then.
And we also, when we were in school, we weren't allowed to have our phones out in class, any of that. They have their phones out all the time. I think teachers just got tired of trying to restrict it. And they were just like, okay, everybody can have your phones. But I'm just like, my sister will send me stuff while she's in class. I'm like, girl, you're allowed to have your phone out. She's like, yeah.
I used to be under the table like.
Right, we would have to like
sneak
it with our little sidekick.
Man, trying to text with one hand on the sidekick, like I used to be out here like
I don't even know how you would
thinking I was really I thought I was, and then until I got my phone taken, like I thought I was doing something subtle. But I mean, also too is just in high school and different schools period now they're on more electronic devices, so it's not like they can't just log on while they're even in class, like using a tablet or laptop for class. So. Yeah. It's even worse now.
It's really bad. It's just, like I said, it's just giving us a false image of what we're supposed to look like, constantly comparing ourselves. And also, it's feeding into this whole celebrity or like worshiping celebrities type thing. Because before, we didn't know the lifestyle that they lived. Besides like seeing cribs or something cool.
Exactly.
Like, we were not able to have access to what their lives were. And now, with the advances of social media, we can see the way that these people live, and everybody's aspiring not just to be those people, but to have their own fame, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they like Hollywood, and I'll just use Hollywood as like a reference to just kind of cover all the celebrity culture or whatever. Hollywood used that as like a kind of gimmick employed to like keep us interested, was like how far away it was. Like to imagine the thing that you see on TV kind of like in your life was like otherworldly. And then now with like reality TV and that shift in our culture, it's like people have more of an interest in wanting to know everything about someone's life, and relatability like is making careers these days. So it's like, of course, social media is going to be just so heavily used. Like look at people like Cardi B that are like, if it wasn't for her social media, she wouldn't be where she is today. And I even personally know some people that make most of their living off of social media and like get posts and things like that. And
Amber Rose said she makes $2 million a year on social media.
Everybody want to be famous. It's the easiest platform to be famous. Back in the day, there was no direct blueprint other than like who you know, even though it's still kind of who you know. I think Instagram gives people more hope that they can be famous quicker like somebody else. So that addiction on top of like trying to look perfect in the process. Oh, Jesus.
I don't know how we have any self-esteem left. I'm like, it's definitely affecting our generation and other people who haven't had to go through it. I think millennials, we get a really, really bad rep. And millennials, by the way, to define that's age like, I would say like 22, 23 to 38, we're millennials, right? Yeah. Would you agree? So it's like we are, and I kind of love it because we're like this golden era of people who have lived life without the advances of technology and social media.
Yeah, we had a great balance.
And with it, so, but with, great power comes great responsibility, and the responsibility to have like actual social connections and to actually use things the way that I think they were created to use them, we've failed on that part.
Yeah, in many ways. That is true.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about your journey towards self-love. Because, you know, that's something that it's not easy for people to accept and love themselves. So what was that like for you?
I think from like a very young age, I was very aware of my body. You know, I have 3 other siblings and they all have the same dad. I have a different dad, and their bloodline, literally just from my mom and their dad combined, is so athletic. And you know, you grew up seeing my sister in the front of the newspaper. Both of my sisters, 1 and 2, ranked fastest in California, in the nation. So I was very aware of the fact that my body was different from theirs. They were all very athletic. I was a little shorter, pudgier, and everybody would always make me aware of my body. I didn't really grow up being too aware. I'm just a kid, but it would always be like, oh, she's so chunky, she's so cute. Oh, little Linda. My mom's name is Linda, and I'm literally a spitting image of this woman.
It's out of control.
It's kind of scary. Like, every time I show somebody a picture of me and my mom, they're like, yo, like literally, I look just like her. And so it would always be like, little Linda, like, oh, look at her. And I would always feel really awkward, even when I went through puberty, and it was like, oh, you getting thicker. Oh, you. So everybody would always make me aware of what I looked like. Right. And I would always just feel some type of way, like, okay, that must be a negative thing, right? Like I'm getting more curvier, like my thighs are bigger than other people, like things like that, where maybe in some way they just, I don't know. In a weird way, I don't know if that was a compliment or what, but I never took it that way because I felt like you were giving me unwanted attention. Yeah. And so up until my freshman year, I was pretty chunky. I was like just super insecure, normally dressed really like down, super tomboy. I still kind of dress tomboy now, but really tomboy, trying to hide every part of my body. And when I look back, I wasn't fat or anything at all. But in my opinion, I was fat. Mm-hmm. And I feel like fat is like such a state of mind, really, because I mean, it's up to, you know, and that's how I felt with my body dysmorphia. Like sometimes I'd feel fat, sometimes it would be a day, certain days that I felt that. But I remember in my childhood mostly feeling like I was just larger than most girls, and I was kind of like her. I wasn't 5'9" at 11, right. But I was 5'6" by the time I was like 9. So I was taller than most boys and didn't really feel like attractive. Up into high school, I lost weight like my sophomore year, and
oh my gosh, me
too. Listen, this is so sad. After my freshman year of high school, I was gonna go to a different school, and I was like, I'm not gonna be fat at this school. Like that's what I said to myself. I was like, I'm not gonna be fat at this school. Right. I'm gonna work out all summer. I worked out all summer. I would like put on sweaters, and like work out so I could sweat. Went into a new school year and was skinny, but still would always be like, oh my God, and would really just never feel satisfied. And I didn't realize what I looked like. And that's why it's dysmorphia, because you'll look back at pictures now and be like, oh my God, I was so skinny. Like, I mean, even some of my stages that I've had, like, it still went on into adulthood, where I ended up gaining weight after high school. I was honestly just happy and more comfortable, but then people started saying something like, oh girl, oh, you getting thick, and it would honestly be mostly my family. Yes. And so I'm like,
family is the worst.
I be speaking up now
to just rip us to shreds. I do too.
No, I'm like, hey, listen, I really don't like when you say that. Listen, it's not your business. My body's not your business. Chill, you know. Yeah. So my family made me aware of it always, and then I ended up losing weight again and got really into fitness and and I thought it was a healthy thing, right? Being into fitness, being into the food that I was eating because it was healthier, but it was honestly obsessive. It was really obsessive. It was mentally unhealthy. And honestly, with how tall I am and how thicker build I am, my doctor was like, yeah, you need to gain some weight.
Dang.
And I'm like, really? Like, technically 5'6", like a woman that's 5'6" should be, they'll say like, oh, around like 140, 135, 140. I was 140, and when I tell you, it was a whole mess. Like, I look back at pictures now and I'm like, I would never in my life go back to that. And from that moment on, I just realized where I was mentally, that I was never satisfied. This was my second time losing weight. Yeah. Gaining weight, losing weight, and like sitting there looking in the mirror and being like, this is not enough each time. And one of my first steps, honestly, was like, I just stopped worrying about the mirror so much because I would just obsess over looking in the mirror. Yes. So I went from that, and when I moved here to LA, that's when my journey really, really started over the past like 2.5, 3 years. Because when I came here, I felt like I didn't relate to anyone as far as how I looked. I moved out here and had my locks and everything. And while you know locks is like really popular up north in the Bay Area, you'll see a bunch of women with locks go to Oakland. And even in Sacramento. But then when I came down here, it was like, oh shoot, like, and I wasn't there's different spaces where I'll see women like that. Right. But you have to find those spaces. And when I moved here, I wasn't in those spaces. And it was before people were wearing faux locks, and it was a trend, and it was cute, and it was a thing. Right. Yeah. And people used to always ask me how I felt about that, because I do hair, and people contact me and be like, oh, are those faux locks? And I'm like, no, sis, like I went through the ugly stage to get here. Don't do me. Don't do me. You know, so moving out here and feeling like I looked different, all of that, I knew that I was going to have to get some control over my self-esteem, period. Because I wasn't about to come out here and cut off my locks and start wearing lace fronts out of nowhere just because I feel like y'all wearing lace fronts. Right. If I'm going to wear a lace front, it's going to be because I'm there. Right. And I felt like I wasn't there. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep my locks. I'm going to just go on this journey, being out here, feeling like I don't really relate to how women are looking, even dressing. Like I was just like, I dress down a lot more most of the time, or if I do dress up, I'm like, it's for an occasion. I would be around girls that are like wearing heels and we're supposed to go shopping or get our nails done. I'm like, I'm pulling up to the nail shop in my slides, sis. You know, like I can't relate, you know? So going on that journey, and also just starting to look in the mirror and just encourage myself, that's where I'm at today. Yeah. Where I like look in the mirror and I'm like happy about like how I look. And for once in my life, I don't obsess over how flat my stomach is. Woo! That was the thing my entire life. I pray that I get there. Girl, it's power in the fupa. Oh my God. I be out here like, yes, sis.
Even when I was skinny, I call myself skinny fat because I still like my stomach. Like I've never felt comfortable in a 2-piece bathing suit.
I don't allow that around me. Like my friends, you're not going to sit around me and be like, girl, I look... no, you're not going to do that around me. So just for future reference.
People who look amazing critique themselves in front of me, and I'm like, no.
We're so, and that's the thing, like we're so good at complimenting other people. Yeah. And then we'll bring ourselves down in the process and be like, oh my gosh, she looks so beautiful. And then with us, we're like, oh, my face is, my hair looks a mess. And like, that's just, it's so wrong to treat yourself that way, right? And I think we look to other people to treat us the way we want to be treated, but do we really know how we want to be treated when we don't love ourselves? Right. You know, so once I started getting on that journey, and it really helped me to where today, like I realized like a month ago, I was like, yo, I've never apologized to myself for how I've treated myself. Whew. Like you apologize to other people for what you do to them, but have you ever thought of how negative you are sometimes to yourself, how much you might doubt yourself and your abilities and compare yourself? Do you ever apologize to yourself for how wrong you treated yourself? And after I did, like, I literally was like on the 405 thinking and like crying, and I was like, damn, bitch.
You saying that made me want to spark a tear.
Like, you know, because I think you know, and also just when you've been in relationships and things like that, we put so much effort into treating other people the way we want to be treated, or loving other people, pouring into other people, and then embodying this narrative of don't nobody treat me right. And do you treat you right, sis? Yes. Do you? Yeah. Why are you worried about XYZ treating you right? And until you can do that, you know, it's that cliche saying of you can't love anybody until you love yourself, truly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at now. And, you know, I've been glowing and, you know, right, this is where I'm at now.
Claps.
Yes.
Claps
So
to you.
it's a lot of daily work. We're here.
I mean,
we're here.
Can you imagine a life where people looked into the mirror and instead of looking at their flaws, looked at the things about themselves that like makes them happy or like complimented themselves?
That's what you gotta do. You gotta really like start turning it into like a positive. And if it's something negative, like you truly feel like, oh, I need to lose more weight. Okay, is that connected to image or is it connected to health? If it's connected to health, turn that into I'm gonna be healthier.
Right.
But don't sit up here and be like, oh, I'm so fat.
Yeah.
We gotta remove that. We gotta stop
Exactly.
doing that.
Yeah. And I think like self-love is going to be a really, really like big thing that I drive and I weave into every episode of pickHERupper because it is so important and not a lot of us love ourselves.
The name of the show reminds
me
me of self-love. Like the name sounds so positive. Like picking yourself up is kind of what I thought when I heard the name. So I could see that. I mean, I would feel like that's what it represents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know.
Honestly, pickHERupper was a God-given name. I've never been a catchy person or anything, so I have to just always attribute that to the creator because that just like planted in my head. I looked, nobody had it. It wasn't a domain taken or anything yet, and I was like,
that's a blessing.
Let me buy that and start this. And
and
that literally happened, I want to say in the beginning of I'm not going to date this, but that happened in the beginning of February. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, here we are now.
Well, I love the name, and I'm happy I'm on episode 3, but I'm like, this is amazing. I just want you to know.
Events, everything. I'll have it weaving in there, and I also want to do like a video series and stuff, but sorry,
Girl.
that's a different topic for a different day.
It's all right. You create. Feel yourself for a minute. This is a great moment. Like, you're doing a lot.
Thank you.
This episode's about self-love, so I'm just trying to love on you a little bit, you know?
And honestly, I think like every episode will have different topics, but it all leads back to self-love because you can't be the best version of yourself if you don't make yourself a priority.
Yes.
And a lot of times, like I said earlier, we feel selfish when we do things for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, who's supposed to do that kind of stuff for you if you ain't doing it for you? But so just to wrap this up, I want to give you guys at home some pocket pickHERuppers to take with you. To help you with, you know, your body image and how you live about yourself. So one thing that you have to realize is that no one is perfect. Like, give yourself grace, give yourself, you know, just know that no one is perfect. Everyone has flaws. And when you look in the mirror and you criticize yourself, even the person that you love and that you think is perfect, they're criticizing themselves as well. I've worked on a bunch of shows. I've worked for a bunch of different celebrities. And behind the scenes, I can tell you guys, these people who have augmented their bodies, nothing is ever enough. They are continuously doing it. They kill themselves working out. They, you know, when they have babies, they have these unrealistic standards for themselves to snap back. And they're like, my body is my career. And it's like, and they literally have the time to do it, and they do it.
Yeah,
but it's
the
just
time
like,
and the money.
It's a crazy thing. And they'll go through and they'll look at episodes and they're like, nope, there's a role there. Take that out. Nope, I need to wear a fur coat to cover that up. Take that out. Like, they critique themselves more than anyone on this planet. So if you think that these people who love their bodies are just waking up and they're beautiful and they just love themselves and everything about it, you're wrong. They constantly critique themselves. They never think that anything is good enough, and they have enough money to subtly, you know, make little changes.
Yeah.
But you know, you can definitely do a 10-year challenge and see the difference.
Listen, my 10-year challenge, I was happy that I didn't look back at the, 10 years ago and be like, oh, I need to get back to that. I was like, no, I'm actually really happy right now. So, yeah.
My 10-year challenge, I was happy that I ain't really changed that much. I just learned how to do my makeup better.
That part, same here. My eyebrows got thicker because Jesus.
I used to just
waxing was a problem.
On my
like just fill them in dark.
I don't know
that's what we should have did was the 10-year eyebrow challenge because it will get real. Some people have no progress. That was just a little shade for the day.
Okay, so moving on to the second tip, it is to appreciate your own body. And like I said, when you look in the mirror, instead of looking at your flaws, look at the things that you actually like about yourself.
Yeah.
That will help you change your standards for body image and make you like really love and appreciate yourself. And I'm telling this to myself because
in the process.
Yes, in the process. And because these are things that like I'm still growing to love who I am, and it's been a lifelong thing. But as you said, like I grew up just hearing comments, and that fed into it. And it's like I don't think people understand. Like the boy who told me in high school that I was shaped like SpongeBob.
He thought
like,
nothing of what he did.
He thought nothing of that, and that stuck with me my entire life.
And honestly,
life.
kids are like, so rude.
I mean, we are, but I mean. Let's not get it twisted. My tongue is a weapon, and it's sharp as hell, and I can give it right back. But
that part,
you know, I've grown past it. I'm not trying to roast people, so growth. So 3, something you can take home is don't rely on others for confidence boost.
Yeah,
dude. Yo, when you post something, if you don't get a certain amount of likes, I know people who would take it down. I know people who would take down pictures because they didn't hit a certain number of likes.
I know people like they depend on the likes, like their image is kind of like their social media, and they'll get like 1,000 likes or something. I'll be like, that's a lot of likes. No, it's not enough. I'm normally averaging 3,000.
And it's just like, my gosh, like your confidence is so linked to what other people think of you. I know people who, you know, just like, for me, I don't never send a picture to nobody else to get nobody's satisfaction before I post it on anything.
Oh, yeah.
And I know so many people who do that, and I'm just like, dog, like you don't think that this is, like, it's one thing if you have different edits on it and you're like, oh, which one looks better?
Exactly.
Versus like, what do you like of this or this?
Do I look pretty?
It's crazy.
Yeah, we shouldn't really care so much about that.
Yo, especially in Los Angeles, dog. Like what you were talking about, how like people be to the 9 at all times.
I
like,
didn't pay attention to social media as much until I moved here. Like I kind of felt like I was so ignorant. Yeah. And then I came out here and people were like, yeah, my Instagram layout, like make sure everything was within this tone. I do blue hues for this part. Like, you should download Visco. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's artsy, whatever. But then I was like, yo, like I shouldn't have to obsess over, like I found myself thinking like, okay, I got to make sure I get a picture, da, da, da. And especially it being connected to my artistry too. And like you feel pressured to post. After a while, I was like, you know what, fuck y'all. Like I'm enjoying the day.
Right.
I didn't have time to pose. I didn't take a picture. What do you want me to do?
There it is. I really want us to go back to like, not doing everything on our phones, so like, and having like disposable cameras. And
I actually do have some disposable cameras. I've started taking pictures last year. Yeah, I know.
Miss it.
That's the thing too. We kind of like dispose of those memories easily because we're like, oh, it's just gonna be on my Instagram. I don't have to print it out. But like, I've noticed too when I go to people's houses these days, unless they're older, they don't really have pictures.
Yeah, that's a thing. And I love photos. I grew up going to my grandma's house, looking at photo albums and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I have like a photo album from like my freshman year of college, because my freshman year is when we still had digital cameras. So I printed out all of those pictures.
Go to Walmart,
you know,
Walgreens.
Exactly. But yeah, the only other photo album that I have is a scrapbook, or I have 2 scrapbooks, one that my boyfriend made me and one that my cousin made me.
That's
and those
cute.
are the only pictures that have been printed out.
I feel like that's gonna be like one of my hobbies when I turn like close to like 40. I'm gonna just start, because I have scrapbook stuff now, but I just don't have the dedication,
the time. I'm trying to get through books. I'm trying to read actual
Girl, that part. I got like 3 books in the rotation that I'm reading right now.
But yes, don't rely on others for confidence boost, guys. You yourself, you're enough to really love yourself and to know how you feel. Your confidence shouldn't be based on other people's opinions. It should come from within.
Yep.
And then the 4th tip is to take care of yourself.
Yep.
So if you are starving yourself to look a certain way, that's not taking care of yourself. If you are over exercising to look a certain way, that's not taking care of yourself. In the same way that if you are eating fast food every night, that's not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
The only exercise is you walk into the car. That's not taking care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like a balance, and you know, and a lot of times we only diet and exercise for vanity and for weight loss, and not for like our health.
Yeah.
But it's like,
I'm trying to get better at that.
Yeah.
I would say also too, if you're making yourself overrun with work and busy all the time, you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because beyond just the physicality of loving yourself, I personally just started having, like, forcing myself to take Mondays off to, like, take a bath or, like, meditate. That has been actually a huge part of my self-esteem, rather than, honestly, my eating habits were trash while I was still loving my body, which is crazy. But we're taking care of that. I'm at Trader Joe's a little bit more now. We're taking care of that because I had a moment. Okay. But anyway, I would say, like, making sure you actually carve out time for yourself, whether it is to finish up reading that book or listen to the pickHERupper podcast. Look at me, you know, I'm out here promoting my girl, you know. No, but seriously, like, that, to me, that's a part of self-care. For me, I, like, put on a dope podcast or put on some music, kind of just put my phone, like, you know, if I am going to be on my phone, it'll be for something like this, but maybe not text that person back or not reply to that email, and just take a moment to decompress. And that has been a huge part of taking care of myself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, this has been a great episode. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Love you so much.
I love you.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone.